All right, guys, we are live and Saturday night for you people in the future. It is August 2nd, 2025. Talk about an overcast and a freaking drop in temperature, right? So it's all good. It's all good. For you guys that are into wrestling, SummerSlam is going to start in an hour. So we're going to spend an hour together for anybody who wants to pop up here. Because basically, I have some time to kill and I felt like popping on here tonight. So anyway, as we are here in the present on August 2nd, for you people who are popping in here, there's 73% of viewers. A lot of you are new. A lot of you are coming back. That's fantastic. That is fantastic for this channel, considering that is a 15-year-old channel, and I have been reading comics for 47 years, drawing. Listen to me, collecting, reading, amateur arting it up, and things like that. Right. So yeah, thanks for everybody that's popped up. But if you're part of that 73%, or even if you're not part of that 73%, go ahead and thumbs up this live show. Look at that. I'm a cat owner. Everything has cat. But anyway, go ahead and thumbs up this video. Reinforce my ADD, as you can see there, and make sure you're subscribed. Share the video. Let people know we're there. That we talk about comics here and pop culture and fun stuff. And we keep it light at least 95% of the time. Who knows? But we're going to be talking about a few things, right? As you can see in the title of this, I got like a little mini topic. I might expand on this. And I'm sort of also experimenting with new videos. One is going to upload at 9 o'clock tonight. You actually got a taste of the last few videos that actually took off a little bit with this channel. Nothing went viral or anything like that, right? But basically, I just made a topic where I was bagging some books. I found an amalgam comic of Spider Boy that those books were so fun. It was a combination of the Ben Riley Scarlet Spider with the clone Superboy Connor Kent of the 90s, with all sorts of Marvel and great DC stuff thrown in there from both of those little worlds. And I was like, this would be fantastic. And apparently people, because I've got some feedback. Some people enjoyed it, some people didn't. I gave my opinion on the Fantastic Four movie last week. I actually did a second opinion piece with Josh on our live show. That's another reason to make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell. And I've had some mixed results in that. I'm not really used to getting all sorts of feedback, but that's really cool to get some. You know what I mean? Some people were upset, thought I was a little hard on the movie. But as we segue into what I was about to say here, there's two things that I do want to talk about tonight, just to get people's opinions. If you guys like the movies, that's hey, afternoon, Crack. What's up? Stick around, Crack. I got some comics I'll be showing. Just kind of go with the topic here, man. Everybody, check out Comic Crack's channel, La Rosa's channel. They do a great show on Sundays. It is Sundays. Anyway, plug yourself in there, Crack. But anyway, the Fantastic Four movie, I thought the third act was just horrible. And I went into detail. I brought out the comics. Um, I showed why. I went back to the comics, back to the Stan Lee stuff, a little bit of the Kirby stuff, and things with Galactus. And if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to spoil it for you, except for this. This is how I would stop Galactus, just like in the movie. All right. That's all I have to do to stop Galactus. It's not even a Kirby fist. Anyway, that's how you stop Galactus. Okay, here we go. Sundays around 2 p.m. Central State. Yeah, 2 p.m. We're off for the next 2 weeks, though. Okay, they got a little break going on, right? Sorry about that. Central time, apparently. It was throwing me off because Crack is in Canada, La Raza is in England, uh, European, if you will. So yeah, that got in my head. So anyway, the Fantastic Four movie, I was a little hard on it, but I've run into people at least online that really liked it. My wife did not like the movie, and she loves the MCU movies. She liked Thunderbolts. I mean, she really dug it. But my wife does not fangirl on anything. If it's fun, it's fun. If she likes it, she likes it. She likes her Jurassic Park movies. She likes her John Wick movies. She likes her action movies. You know what I'm saying? She did not like it. nobody in the theater liked it. That's what really got me. I went through the whole thing. So I've seen it's getting great reviews here and there. There are some people calling it dull. I don't get into the Snyderverse fans versus the John Gunn fans. Time has moved on. I have lived through, what is it, 13 or 14 Doctor Who's. I have lived through, I don't know how many, 7, 8, whatever, James Bonds. You know what I mean? The franchise survives. The actors come and go. The character is what needs to be respected. You know what I mean? I have three Sherlock Holmes. Basil is still my favorite, even though Jeremy did a great job. If you know these quotes and things like that. So yeah, the movie on its own merit, I did not enjoy. And according to Variety, I believe as of right now on a Saturday, halfway through the weekend, it has dropped tremendously. 66% is what I'm getting. Well, I don't want to do Reddit. Anyway, Box Office Mojo, Fantastic Four First Steps. I think this is Deadline and Variety. They're all saying there's been a huge drop. I don't think that's really good. So a big part of it is I think this lacks word of mouth. I think people who stuck around for the plot hold filled at least third act and things like that. Um, I think we didn't get the word of mouth. We didn't get the buzz, if you will. I personally just don't think it was a good movie, and that's why we didn't get the word of mouth. I don't really think it was Disney hate, if anything. I think they lost a ton of people when they miscast the Silver Surfer. I'm not going to say anything about Pedro as Reed Richards. Because I don't think that's enough to flop a movie, but I think it's not superhero fatigue, superhero movie fatigue, as I say online, in my opinion. I think it's just all the needless gender swapping and things like that. I really do think people are just tired of it. And So is the movie a success? Is it not? I don't really care. My movies, a ton of my favorite movies, when I went to see them in the theater as a kid, I didn't know they flopped. You know what I mean? I did not know that Dark Crystal flopped. I did not know but Blade Runner flopped, nor did I care. Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, I can come up with a bunch of these movies. They all flopped. They become cult classics. So we have a Fantastic Four movie where I felt like we had it right in our hand to finally have it done right. You know what I mean? And they did just enough to where they turned Mole Man into a plot point, not a character. There's a lot of show, not tell. And then, like I said, that third act, when they came back from Galactus' ship, that's where they lost a lot of people in the theater I was in. Now, there's been multiple feedback that I've gotten where people were in the theaters. People were crying. They said it was emotional. They said it was great. People I know personally on Facebook retorted with me a little bit saying they loved it and stuff, right? That's all cool, guys. That is all cool. You know what I mean? It's there's no need to have sides picked. You know what I mean? Not about that here, right? But I do give honest opinions. When I give honest opinions. So if I don't like what you like, I'm not going to scorn you or be confrontational if you don't like something, right? Before the internet was, oh, here we go. Vincent Seller. We're going to get to the topic here, videos, to topic, guys. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Vincent, I can't share with Google Live. I'm used to, or YouTube Live. I'm used to being on StreamYard, sharing comments. So hopefully these show up in the rerun. Vincent Seeker says, before the internet was better, and that is coming from a millennial talking about the topic on hand that we'll be getting to was collecting comics and reading comics better before the internet, right? Here, yeah, and he said it. I have not, let me see. JP Fawn, I have not had a burning desire to see the Fantastic Four yet. Vincent Starr didn't care for it. I'm assuming you're talking about the Fantastic Four. John is here. One more time, I'm going to plug that. John is the role model here, right? John is the role model. He is subscribed. He has hit that bell. He always knows when we're here and he's going to pop up. So make sure you do the same. Go ahead and share this also. Afro SF, greetings, Howler. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great, though. Fair enough. John, yes, better before internet for me. Afro SF, I didn't know Tron flopped. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I love Tron. The first Tron. I love the first Tron. Mixed feelings about the second one. The Tron video game. I mean, Tron was probably one of the first VHSs I probably rented way back in the day. I don't know, right? Let's just bring the X-Men already. JP Fun. Yeah, give people what they want. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it, but one of the best memories I have, and it blows my mind that it's around 25 years, blowing my mind. I was still in my late 20s. That blows my mind, right? But one of the moments of knowing you just saw something, um, oh God, what is the word? Oh man, I don't want to put it on a plat. I don't want to use too strong of a word, but one of those moments, where you're in the movies, you've seen something iconic. I'm going to go with it. I said it. Was the first time that I saw Wolverine Logan pop his claws in the first X-Men movie. I can feel, I can transport myself. It appears around me. I don't go anywhere; it just appears around me. But I know that I can feel the darkness of the theater, the seat I was in, and see it plain as day in my mind's eye there when that happened. That whole first scene in the bar with Rogue sitting there and stuff. Um, Overall style was pretty fun, but I agree wasn't that good of a movie. I like the intro to Galactus and the visuals around it. Overall, kind of dull. My daughter really liked it. Comic crack. That's fair enough. I think we're probably, with what I'm just reading here, Crack, I was probably on the same page. I thought it was dull. There's more that could have been done. But I was like, they're introducing these characters. You got to start low to get high. You know what I mean? That's what I thought was going to happen. They got Galactus visually correct. But the way they took out Galactus, I checked out, man. I checked out so bad. I'm hoping that we have what happened with Watchmen for you guys. The theatrical release of Watchmen, I came out with mixed feelings. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell was that? And then we got the ultimate cut. So maybe we'll be graced with a different cut of the Fantastic Four. Who knows? That would be good. That would be cool, but they would still have to fix that freaking third act. So much wrong with it. I mean, I destroyed it for an hour. It feels like on my live stream about it. And JP Fawn, do you think Gunn will attempt to do the Teen Titans? I can only pray that he does. At this point, I heard there's going to be a Teen Titans movie. I did hear that, right, guys? I did hear there's going to be a Teen Titans movie. That's all I've heard. I don't know where it's going. James Gunn, I do follow him on X. He's the only reason I keep X. Well, check into X, if you will. And I've seen some of the projects he's hinted at with Mr. Terrific, with Metamorpho. I'm hoping we get Plastic Man someday. He has mentioned the Teen Titans getting a movie, but his whole philosophy is that if there's no script, we don't move forward. He has stayed adamant that some of the things, some one or two things he has mentioned, there hasn't been news because nobody's turned in a good script. No script, we don't move forward. They get a good Teen Titans script. He's mentioned the Titans. I hope we do. The funny thing about the Teen Titans TV show that was, I don't know, it basically was on WB, HBO Max, whatever that DCU app was that's gone and come and gone, or whatever it was. You had the Swamp Thing show that a lot of people wished had not gotten canceled before it was even done. I'm very forgiving about the Doom Patrol show because there are things in there that I have been a Doom Patrol fan since between 80 and 82, somewhere in there. I have been a Doom Patrol fan. There were things I saw that I never thought I would see on the screen. You know what I mean? Black Adam got a freaking movie, even though, there was a twist about who Black Adam was, if you will. There's just things that, even though they may not have been perfect, the Doom Patrol show was cool. The Black Adam movie, I had a Black Adam movie. I'm not going to complain. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to brag, but I'm not going to complain. And then the Teen Titans show, it really blew my mind because it was like they got everything right that didn't have anything to do with the main cast of the Titans when it came to Robin and Wonder Girl and Cyborg, and good God, that poor actor Starfire. Everything that they did, they had Hawk and Dove right. They got some of the villains right. They got a lot of things right. The little Red Hood segments were right. But everything else, what they did with Beast Boy was a joke. That's what I'm trying to get. It's like everything except the actual Titans, everything was cool. So we deserve a movie to get it right. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay. Sue versus Galactus was ridiculous. Yes, it was. Yes, it was, Afro. I'm with you on that one. I am so with you. All right, hold on. Something's going on here. Okay, we're still there. Okay, now, so that's the Fantastic Four movie. I feel like we lost. We lost, guys. That's how I feel. It was like right there in front of our face. We saw how glorious it could be. The miscasting, the third act, everything they were doing. Let's hope maybe they go up from there, right? I'm not even excited to see Doctor Doom. Okay, you know what I mean? I've got the 149 and 150 of Iron Man, those issues where it's Doctor Doom versus Iron Man. I don't even want to get them out. You know what I mean? I'm just no, no. And some of the books that I've been seeing people go after, West Coast Avengers, like number 35 or number 36, because it has that Al Milgrom Doom cover. Robert Downey Jr. on his Instagram or social media, he posted himself listening to some music, and then he would just scan by his stuff, and then we would see a Doctor Doom comic or a Fantastic Four comic, and people lost their minds. So, yeah, we're out of that whole thing. I did think the Teen Titans show was a bit too dark, but I enjoyed it. Afro, yeah. There were some stories they could have went dark. They should have, but you're right. Overall tone, no, you're right, absolutely. Okay, so let's go. We can go back and forth. Comment all you want. We'll go back and forth a little bit. I am on a time limit tonight, so we'll just kind of. I'm going to move on to the next topic. But the Sandman Netflix show season 2 is going to be the last one. Probably, oh my goodness, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I have a video that I did of why I will not be watching the Netflix Sandman show, and it all had to do with Cinnamon Headley. Cinnamon Headley was the blasting cap for the Sandman series. And I go through the whole video about how it was really wild that in the 90s, I was reading Sandman before the internet. I don't know if it was, I can't tell you how I found out about her. I cannot tell you. I can't tell you if it was a Wizard article. I can't tell you if it was just through talking. But there was a magic with Cinnamon Headley where Sandman fans all knew who she was. And who was she? She was the person who I think she was in Colorado or something, Utah, Colorado, somewhere out there, right? Anyway, but she is who an artist looked at and drew her, and she became Death in the comic books. Death was based on her appearance. The appearance of Death was based on her appearance, the aesthetics. And if you know anything about Sandman, it was kind of getting a buzz. Neil Gaiman was kind of feeling his way through those first couple issues. He was laying the seeds for what Sandman was going to be all the way to the last issue. And then you get to issue number 8. And number 8's where the series exploded with that character. That was the one that caught people's attention. Mary Poppins' death, more or less, with her goth Susie the Banshee-inspired look, if you will, of the 80s and stuff, right? So after I saw the casting changes and then reading a little bit about what they were doing, how Gaiman was bringing in people to write the show, not based on writing merit and things like that. And around that same time, he had in the comics brought back the Sandman universe, and he had brought in hand-picked people that he was kind of oversee all the books they were doing. The Sandman universe, no Sandman though. No Daniel Sandman. We were into Dreaming, and then there was the oh my god, I don't even remember. There's like 3 or 4 books. They brought back books of magic also and stuff, right? And I hung in there as long as I could, but I could not stomach wasting the money. And now to this very day, I see them in dollar bins and 50-cent bins. People just got rid of them, right? So after seeing that formula that he was using for the TV show, I was out. I heard a few good things. I had my friend Anderson tell me that it's all right, but it's like they took out the horror, the horror aspect of it. I mean, there's just things in the Sandman book I know they could not do, right? And I didn't feel like I missed anything. And then it turned out there was a time that I ended up at a friend's house, and I laughed a little bit because before we were going to leave the house, they had to finish an episode of Sandman they were watching. And I'm like, I just shot a video saying I wasn't going to watch this. You know what I mean? And now here I am getting a little taste. And it was the episode where, oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking out her name. I think she was Clara or something in Doctor Who. It was one of the Doctor Who. Oh my goodness. Well, considering it's been over 10 years since she's been on Doctor Who, I don't feel that bad. But anyway, they didn't have John Constantine. They did not have Hellblazer, so they brought in another Constantine, right? And I got to watch a part of this, and I'm like, this is horrible. I was like, I saw like the last, I don't know, 20, I saw about 15 or 20 minutes of the show, and I was just like, this is horrible. This is bad, right? So now we skip ahead. Here we are, Neil Gaiman. I heard Neil Gaiman sitting there talking about, well, I want to do everything, everything that has anything that I've ever written about Sandman. I want to get it on the screen. We'll animate it if we have to. We'll get it on there. We'll get it on the Netflix show. And then we had the downfall of Mr. Gaiman. He almost got by with everything. He almost slid right by because it didn't hit the mainstream. Neil Gaiman is famous outside of comics also. So the comics people who followed this stuff and follow what the creators do and stuff, and they heard about the charges and all the things that he was doing, he got by for like half a year, and there was people doing investigations online and stuff. And I said, it hasn't hit the mainstream. He's going to be fine. A couple months later, it hit the mainstream, and there we are, right? People were canceling projects left and right. Amazon got out of their Good Omens, and they did this, they did that. This got dropped. DC canceled the Sandman #8 facsimile edition, all that stuff, right? And I was saying they better get Amanda Palmer, his wife, because the way it sounded to me, it sounded like there was an unspoken agreement. Amanda was hiring the girls, in my opinion. This means nothing, and things like that. It sounded like as the girls were going in the home, because Amanda said there was 13 other girls to the one that complained to her. I've heard the same thing from 13 other women. It kind of sounds like there's an understanding. You're getting hired as a nanny, wink, wink, nudge. And to me, that would explain why Neil Gaiman was so bold with some of the girls. He thought they were in on it. Not excusing him, and I'm not saying this is what happened. This is sort of an allegedly thing. But the way I read things and some of the weird stuff I've seen in 30 years of social work, I have seen situations like that. Okay, you know what I mean? So I might be transferring, some situations to make that one fit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, things like that. So anyway, that gets to Sandman season 2, right? The only thing that's come out of this, of everything getting canceled and season 2 of Netflix, the series being the last one, I'm glad I never started. I never, I'm glad I didn't dabble. I feel like I knew better. I was so sick of this stuff that was going on out there. I'm like, just adapt the freaking comics in the show. Respect the material. You know what I mean? This is how you got here, right? I feel like whenever you have a comic book, it gets turned into something bigger. Your fan base is what got you there. That's different than any other medium. Maybe not any other medium. Maybe you like novels, the Harry Potter novels and things like that, right? That's what got you there. Things like that. Anytime you're that's a better way to put it. Anyway, we're adapting comics or books or something, right? The people got you. Maybe even video games, right? Now, the more that I think about this, the more the web grows. You know what I mean? So just respect the damn material, I mean? So, but what gets me is that there are on Audible, if you have Audible, and I think you can get Audible through Amazon or something, right? They have these fantastic audiobooks adaptations with James McAvoy playing Morpheus. Of Kat Dennings being Death, and some other stars and stuff like that, some other Hollywood big names, right? And they're down to what I think is the last chapter. They have X 1, 2, and 3, I do believe. I have them on my phone. I listen to them through my Bluetooth and stuff like that, right? But these are really faithful, fantastic adaptations of audiobooks. I hate to call them that, right? But every cast member, audio plays is what they feel like. They're fantastic. I've been waiting on the last chapter. The Neil Gaiman put that they were out. I wonder if they're coming out. I don't know, but anyway, but I hope it doesn't. That's the only thing I hope doesn't really get affected on this. But with season 2, I wonder if there's going to be anybody that really wants to watch this anymore, because with season 2, they are getting the rest. I think they flew through the first, I don't know, 15, 16 issues of Sandman in season 1, and they were going to take their time with it. So that leaves, oh my goodness, was it 75 issues? So we're talking over 60 issues to get through in 10 episodes or whatever they're doing on Netflix, right? So it's almost like I want to watch season 2 or at least fast forward it to see the train wreck. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, how are they going to do this? They're going to rush a lot of things. Many things are going to be put out. A lot of nuance is going to be lost. A lot of subtext. I can't see how they would do it. It's almost like, okay, guys, this is it. We got to get this stuff out and wash our hands of it. Is what it feels like. All right. I did enjoy Sandman Overture, though. It was technically an old told second crisis afro. Yeah, I have that up there. I love Sandman Overture. I'm one of the people that I'm not going to abandon my comics. I have a complete set of the Sandman, almost two complete sets of the comics. Then I have tons of the trades and other books related to it, a full set of the Dreaming. I'm not abandoning it. Those books are there. And actually, if you actually read Neil Gaiman's work, you should not be surprised at the allegations. You know what I mean? It goes, and then after OSS, I hope Jonathan Hickman continues Miracle Man. Even if Gaiman had fallen from grace, his heart wasn't in it. It was a very average and slightly out of date. Yeah, I think it's hilarious, ironically, not funny, ha ha, but ironically that we waited over 30 years for the actual what we thought was going to be the last issue of Miracle Man. Okay, from Eclipse, you know, dissolving and then the rights of the book, then Marvel getting them and taking forever to get that last story out. And then right when we get to the last, what I assume was the last issue of Marvel finally getting with Neil Gaiman and getting this last story out after reprinting the whole series over a decade, recoloring them and all this stuff, and really milking it out and having delays and whatever's going on behind the scenes. We get there, and now this happens right when we get to the last issue of Miracle Man again. Okay, I don't have 30 years to wait again, my friend, for that last issue. So I've completely put it out of my mind. And the story wasn't really that great anyway, as you're kind of pointing out. So that's that. So when it comes to Sandman season 2, is anybody here actually even interested in that? Because the show did not blow up like Stranger Things. You know what I mean? That's what we're waiting on. Just to finish the damn series. To me, when it comes to Stranger Things, that first season is gold. That fourth season is gold. Everything else in between, I could give or take. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. But around issue season 3, I think it was around season 3, they made the '80s era its own character, and that's where they messed up. It was just supposed to be the setting. That's why they made it feel authentic. And then all of a sudden, it was like, hey, we're in the '80s. They were calling a lot of attention to it. That's where they messed up. But to get back to the Sandman, is anybody even like? That's why I don't know if I want to shoot an actual video talking about these opinions of Sandman season 2. Does anybody even care? Do any of you guys even watch it? Leave some comments in the future. Let me know now, right? Because we're going to move on here, right? And now we're going to get to the part about the comics, right? First of all, guys, thanks for everybody that's in here, sticking around. Thanks for everybody that's popped up on this Saturday night. Here, great to see you. Again, make sure you are subbed, thumb it up, share it, let us know we're here. All right, Prompt One Collector, what are you doing, brother? Been a while. Hello, Howler. Good to see you. Sandman show was great, in my opinion. Awesome. I'm going to watch season 2 of Sandman. I enjoyed the first one. Awesome. That is fantastic. Again, when I give these opinions, man, it's not trying to be the be all, end all of everything, right? If you like things, man, I'm all down for that. Don't get me wrong, but just like you bragging on something or hating on something, I'm one to, do the same thing. That's my whole deal, man. The Sandman was great in my opinion, and I'm going to watch season 2 of Sandman. Let me do this for you guys that are watching Sandman season 1. I'm going to be getting Netflix again when, like I said, Stranger Things comes around. Right now, I'm waiting on Murders in the Building. Right, it's starting up here. Can't remember if it's August or October, but anyway, give me an episode. The episode I saw with Joanna Constantine or whatever it was, I saw 15 minutes of it. Horrible. So give me an episode to watch. And when I get to Netflix or something, I'll check it out. You know what I mean? I'll do that. I'll do that. I really love the first season. After I was here, I really loved the first season of Sandman, despite the swaps. I wasn't a fan of the female Constantine. Now, here's what happened with Supernatural. Let's say I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm tempted to watch season 2 because of the train wreck. I really doubt I'm going to watch all of season 1, but I'm willing to check out an episode because with the show Supernatural, with Dean, Dean and Sammy and all, you know what I mean, and all that. First season, I ended up watching one episode, and it was the werewolf episode where they don't even turn to werewolves. It was a girl who ended up growing sideburns, got some teeth, and she was eating hearts. And I watched it, and I'm like, that was horrible because all of a sudden Sam fell in love in one episode with the girl and got his heart broken. I'm like, oh my god, this is 90210. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is some Aaron Spelling bullshit, right? Turns out, after my friend spent about another year telling me I need to check it out, around season 3 was in progress. Found out it was one of the best shows ever. So okay, that's why I'm willing to try, man. Prime One Collector, the show made me appreciate the comic series even more. Neil Gaiman really crafted a gem of a comic. Absolutely. That's why I'm saying I'm not going to abandon it. I'm not going to throw it out the door. You know what I mean? I was there, got through the 90s. I think my first issue that I bought was number 7. At number 7, and I still have the beat up issue of number 7. I also got something like the third issue of Elementals that day. Also, they were 2 of the first books you didn't find on spinner racks I ever bought. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm good. I'm good. I can talk Sandman all day, still to this day, right? Comic Craig, that's the thing for me. We don't have Netflix anymore. Not planning to get it again. There we go. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm very sparingly with Netflix. So much garbage on there. You end up spending more time looking for something to watch than to watch, and then they do something stupid. There's better things in life to focus on. You know what I mean? So get in that crap, right? Anyway. Anybody that likes Fantastic Four movie, peace. Anybody that likes the Sandman show, peace. You know what I mean? There's very few things that are bad enough for me to hate. We'll bring them up someday. Okay. Now let's get to comics before the internet, right? So a very interesting thing happens. Time has gone by quicker, it feels like, since we'll say 2009 for me than anything, right? And on this channel over the years, all the talk is there. The videos are there if you dug through them. I wasn't the only one. This is like pre-Comic Gate bullshit, which is one of the reasons I stopped talking and stuff. But and things like that, where it was like, man, they got to make better comics. They got to stop doing this stupid shit. We got to save the comic book shops. And would you believe that shit has been going on for a decade, guys? Okay, all right. It's been a decade. There is a whole generation. And here's how I knew that what I was thinking and what I was seeing were lining up. Okay. Last month, I set up on the streets of Blue Whale. They had an outdoor flea market with actual bands playing down the street. One of the guys, a guy named Jason, I'm going to give his last name. He owns a store called Spookables, and it's like secondhand pop culture stuff, right? He's got stuff from wall to wall. He's got VHS horror tapes, DVDs, action figures, comic books, toys from every era, records, everything. And he invited a couple of us to set up in his parking lot while this was going on. And I had a kid come by, and he bought this is a hardback, but he bought the DC 52 issues floppies of Dial H. And he was sitting there like, I mean, this kid was probably in his 20s. Apologies to anybody in their 20s watching this, but look at this face. All right. Look at this gray. Yeah, you're a kid to me, right? And I'm a kid to some people also. I just had a guy today when I went to get hornet spray to take out a hornet's nest. I had a guy referring to me as kid who's probably like in the 70s. It happens, but I digress, right? But he loves the DC 52, and I didn't have the heart to tell him that DC actually apologized for the DC 52 because it was so bad. Does that matter? No, not now, not 15 years removed from when it happened. This kid is having a good time going through dollar boxes, and he's trying to get anything that was DC 52 to where he refused to buy this. I was going to give him this hardback for $5. He wanted the floppies, right? So I'm of a split mind. I'm like, man, that's dedication. That's great. Too bad it's from a shit era of comics. But who am I to say that? I am not the be all end all of anybody's things. There are things out there that we can talk about, and they are bad comics. There are things out there where heroes have been disrespected, bad movies were made. But if there's a kid that's going through these dollar boxes and he's all excited to find some DC 52, you get my point. I that during that era from DC 52, what Marvel was doing with all the Bendis stuff and everything like that, the stuff that I complained about, I have had a resurgence in my love of New Universe. You know what I mean? So we all have our guilty pleasures and stuff, right? So that had me thinking, right? How did I end up liking the New Universe? And then Atari Force and some of these books I'm going to show you, Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew, and some other comics that I think are really cool, but nobody ever talks about them, right? And nor would I push these on anybody. And how did this happen? It happened because number one, we did not have to try to figure out what was popular to have everybody talking about on the internet. Okay, you follow me? When you saw Daredevil, you got it off the spinner rack, right? And you saw this kid, Frank Miller, his artwork, their merit, their work won people over. John Byrne on Chris Claremont, everybody just knew this was a classic run, even though you would go to the store, get a comic book off the spinner rack, maybe a couple, go home with a stack of books. I know this is both this is both something for some people. You're like, why are you walking us through this? I know what it was like buying comics back in the day. And then there's other people going, wow, that's how y'all did it. See, that's what's amazing about this, right? So you would get a stack and you would sit down and you would have 5 or 6 different stories. You would wait a month, remember what happened in the issue before, and you would be able to read a story like that, right? And you started picking up on tricks and trips and you would find things that were great. And it was for you, even though you did not really have that much contact with other comic book collectors. I had my brother. I had my stepdad at times. I saw my brother twice a month, 2 weekends a month. And then I had a few friends, Robbie Bird. Every now and then when John Byrne came on Superman, I would see a guy over here. They'd be in comic books for a hot 5 minutes and stuff, holding up things. A lot of people hid the fact that they were comic book collectors. So imagine my surprise when in the 90s, I was able to get around to comic book shops more, run down to Heroes Con on a Sunday, even though I still didn't do it, and finally had people to talk about this with. Had a few older kids and stuff, right? A couple guys, they were into D&D, or they were into this, they were into that. Didn't really have a lot of people to talk to. So I would buy my comics based on a few things, right? My allowance, I would buy team books or team up books so I could have more heroes, okay? Or something I really, really enjoyed, a certain artist or a writer I started following. You end up making your collection very refined to your taste and what you wanted. Zoom in today to YouTube, the internet, X, and things like that. People get ready to blow up, man, but Saga was not the end all be all. I remember when Saga hit and it had a lot of hype to it and stuff, right? That everybody had their YouTube channel showing that, right? Before Saga, everybody who started YouTube channels with comic books would show up their commanding #1. You know what I mean? Everybody all of a sudden it was a Kirby man. Kirby's cool. Kirby's that. As a collector and reader before the internet, you discovered these people and stuck with them because of there was something there. You know what I mean? Their work hooked you, right? You didn't really have that word of mouth too much, right? And then events would happen. Comic book events would slowly happen because they discovered the Crosses of Earth, Secret Wars 2. These things were still new, crossing over with the heroes. Books crossing over was still rare, like the Vendors and the Avengers and things like that. It was still a rare thing, and then eventually they became a yearly event, everything from 85 up at least, things like that. So my thing is it's the joy, right? You weren't worried about keys. You weren't worried about seeing what someone else had. You people still get on here and they look for recommendations. And that's how did you do that in comics? You would have to open up your comic, you know what I mean? And there would be a checklist in here. Either a checklist or a subscription or an editor shooting at a book. Let me see what we have here. This is from 1983, so we'll see how they did it. TSR, yeah. Sometimes it was editorials and stuff like that, right? Yeah, things like this. You would have editorials talking about things coming up. This is where I found out there's going to be a Teen Titans. Maybe it might be this very issue. Talking about Atari Force, which I'll show you. Nathaniel Dusk, Firestorm. things that are going on. But it was like in these editorials by Dick Giordano, and in the letters columns where Marv Wolfman was talking to people in Teen Titans, that you can find out that they were doing a Teen Titans versus X-Men, a second book done by Marv and George. The first one was by Chris and Walt and Terry Austin, Walt Simonson, things like that, right? So I ended up having books that I absolutely loved, and I still love to this day, like Atari Force, that aren't big hits. They're not big key books. A lot of, and but what's wild is when you find people who know Atari Force. We can talk Atari Force all day because they loved the book too back in the days. The Marvel version of that, which is probably the original licensed product that really got people, you would think I would say Star Wars because it was more popular. No, Micronauts. I don't know, I got a huge run of Micronauts for like 17 cents a piece or something at a pawn shop one time when I bought a bulk of comics. That's what it came down to. And then I was on this journey to collect them all, and I had them all. And as I was collecting them, I would run into people saying, yeah, when I was a kid, that was the only comic book I would buy. Oh, I still love Micronauts. I sold my comics. That's the only run I loved. Oh man, you only need the first 12. You go past 12, you're not gonna like it, man. I mean, all of a sudden, man, it was like this love of Micronauts, right? And they held on to it. So I don't think it was a kid thing. I don't think it's a nostalgic thing. I think that we were more honest about what we liked and what hooked us. You know what I mean? And I was always kind of contrary. When I did pick up that X-Men and Teen Titans were the books, I went the other way. You know what I mean? I'm like, no. And that's where I started getting my Justice League, my Atari Force, my Batman and the Outsiders, and things like that. All right, let me see what we have here. And then, of course, and people had different experiences because I see right off the bat, sometimes going to bring up in a minute. Let me see what we got here. Okay. Prime One Collector. Netflix keeps recommending all these movies from India, and I have never watched any India, and I have never watched any Indian movies. Right on. Afro. I'm on TikTok, and some of the kids are into Marvel, Back Issues, New 52, and Rippaverse. Awesome. See, that's what I'm saying. How would anybody really Rippaverse and Cyberfrog today would never existed the way they're doing it now. I'm not talking about the 90s, the way they're doing these books now. That never would have happened back then, the way it's going on now, right? Hey, what's up? I mean, there's books from Kamiko no one heard of. A Ribbit. You ever heard of Ribbit? There's some obscure stuff out there. The Comic Book Collector. What's up? Great to see you, brother. What is that? Prime One Collector. Cheers, brother. Thank you. John, my friends and I used to trade issues after we read them. That's what I was going to say, right? Older kids. There's some older kids, and I can get the books. Justice League, I think it's 195, 196. I actually traded for that. I don't remember what I traded for it, but I got this Justice League JSA team up with a George Perez cover. All the heroes are on monitors, and down below them are the Secret Society of Supervillains of Two Earths sitting there looking at the monitor, and they're marking out the heroes they've taken out, right? That was the first time. I didn't like trading books, right? And then I got told amazingly after my mom and well, anyway, when the stepdad down the road, I told him, I ended up telling him about how we traded the books, stuff like that. He's like, no, man, it's always 2 DC for 1 Marvel. That's how they looked at it. You know what I mean? It still wasn't people coming together liking characters and stuff like that. It was people coming together who liked comic books and trying to get that trade in, right? So that little bit of I don't know, one up and greed was still there. That fandom was there. Okay, Afro FX. I still miss the new universe. Did you like Marvel Epic Shadowline with Dr. Zero and Powerline? I tried. I'm sure there's some good stuff in there. Artistically, I like what they did. Usually what Archie Goodwin touches. I would probably have to have a bulk now to sit down and read. I'm a Sienkiewicz fan. There's so much there that I should like it. You know what I mean? And even the stuff I was drawing in high school, I don't want to make it sound like I was doing anything great. That's not what I'm saying. But the stuff that I was drawing would have fit in that line. That's what was wild about it. Alien Legion, I've tried to pick up on it. I don't know. Yeah, John loves the universe. As a I just read the Peter Dave. I read the entire Justice. I've got DP7 I'm getting through. I'm doing reads from beginning to end. I loved Starbrand, especially what John Byrne did. DP7 is solid, and the Peter David stuff of um, of Justice, not bad. A few issues are better than others, but not bad. It's holding up well. Amazingly, is what I'm trying to get so far, but I haven't gotten to Side Force. I've skipped Merc. I can't get through Night Mask, so it wasn't all great. You know what I'm saying? As a reference guide, the Marvel Universe and DC's Who's Who's give you a broader scope of each comics verse. Very detailed and gave reference. It's funny you say that because right over there is my box of all my official handbook in the Marvel Universe, and upstairs I have a second set of I got them. I want to say $1 a piece, but I got them. But I got a very fine set of DC's Who's Who's because the ones I bought that I still have from 84 to 89 and stuff like that are beat up, marked up with pencil, checked off, and everything like that. And I still have them. I keep them underneath an awning under our couch where I can just whip them out and go through them. I love the reference material. Yeah. Here we go. I don't get sog, and that's another thing I'm going to bring up. Let me stop right there. You guys keep commenting. Before the internet, I'm very knowledgeable. I used to be called Howlerpedia. You go back, look at the old videos. If you get me going, as you see, you get the memories going. I'm going to give you some freaking detail about certain characters and certain years and behind the scenes stuff and everything like that, right? That's not that unique now for people that are on here, but this was all without the internet. This all came from me reading the comics, reading the editorials, finding a comic scene, getting amazing heroes. I just love this stuff and I absorbed it like a sponge, right? And then it was the handbook of the Marvel Universe that was mentioned here, and this Who's Who guides. Anything I can get hold of, the role playing games, I can get up here and show you my Marvel role playing game from the 80s that I replaced from the two that I had and things like that. And it was from reading all that, absorbing it, putting stuff together. Roy Thomas talking about stuff in the back of All Star Squadron, about the heroes of how they fit in. He actually would All Star Squadron. He would actually walk you through the Golden Age, and then it was actually reading the comics where my stepdad had all the. He has a couple issues of Forever People and some New Gods. And in the back of those, especially with the, you would see reprints of Kirby's stuff from the 40s, the Guardian, Newsboy Legion, big time on the Sandman. And I have that up here. Get Kirby's Sandman is right there, let's get Bart out of the way and things like that. So you would absorb these things, right? So basically, whatever you put into the hobby back then is what you would get out of it. If you wanted to be a casual reader of just Spider-Man, you ended up just through osmosis, just from doing it, you would end up being a Spider-Man fan. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted to learn more about if you wanted to level up and start learning more about characters, you would read the reference material and the editorials and stuff, right? And then all of a sudden you would start finding out there were price guides out there. You know what I mean? And key comics first appearances, and that the space in between panels was called the gutter, things like that. Stan Lee's soapbox and things like that. They would mention things about who was having a baby that drew comics and stuff like that. I swear, I think there's a Marvel comic that I may still have somewhere announcing John Romita Jr.'s birth. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I could be imagining things, but they did things like that. So the more you got into it and followed this stuff and would read the letters columns of people mentioning books, and then you had the Answer Man. There was in the back of DC Comics in the late 70s and stuff, they would have a flyer in the back of it on the page where it's the Daily Planet with the actual date. And there's a little place where people would write in and ask questions, and the Answer Man would ask them, what's this first appearance? Who's stronger? Is there a Legion of Superheroes on Earth 2? You would just absorb this stuff, right? I feel like you got more from seeing it in an actual print than anything. So you would get a more specific collection to your taste. You would get a more in-depth knowledge than broad knowledge, and you didn't have to sit here and worry about what are these speculation channels saying what books are hot and stuff. You didn't waste your time with that. You knew there's some books that are going to be pricey if you can get them off your friends and make it to a comic book shop and stuff like that. That was a whole other level of something, right? But it still seemed more reasonable, you know what I mean, than what it is now. You can go to comicbookrealm.com, and that is an online pricing guide for your comics. and you will see that the inflated prices of these speculation channels and these Instagram and Facebook and whatever claim sites, claim sales, and stuff like that. I don't understand where they're getting their prices. They go to eBay. They use the comic collector app or something that supposedly pulls in prices from everywhere and gives you a median price or something or whatever it's in and stuff like that. No, it felt much more honest back then. And it feels like it was that way up until about 2012, to be honest with you, if I actually had to pick a day. Okay, so, and this is what I mean. There's a lot of nostalgia. I think this helps play in with a love and nostalgia. There's people that get excited when ROM comes out and gets, or is back if they haven't heard it for a while. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Was it better? Was it better? Was collecting better before we had all this? This isn't an end all be all discussion, or anything, but I do have to tell you, it seems like there was a lot more. I don't know if it was a lot more joy or a lot less bullshit. You know what I mean? The way I'm picturing it is that comic books is a ship. It's a grand ship sailing out there. And sometimes that ship gets beat up and sometimes it needs to be cleaned off. And we got to get out there and we got to get these freaking barnacles off the bottom of the boat. And it feels like a lot of this online stuff. And I could be part of that, doing this right here. Maybe I need to be scraped a little bit, or maybe I should be up there swabbing the deck. I don't know. You know what I mean? Here we go. Afro. Oh, yeah, you guys keep commenting here, but it's more of a question. I personally do think the hobby was healthier, or at least felt healthier. Is it an illusion, or was it healthier before all this online stuff? Right? It brings in a lot of fans. It brings in a lot of people who are curious because of Big Bang Theory, the movies, obviously, and things like that. But we had those, we had those things before, but not on this grand scale and stuff. And then there for a while, it was all about cosplay. Is that really about the comics? I love cosplay. I have done cosplay. I still have my Riddler jacket I made. That's why I can ask these questions. I wasn't just an observer. I was participating, things like that. Okay. Afro SF. I don't get Saga. I also don't know why, what all the fuss is about. Exactly. I was told it was the second coming of Star Wars, and I'm like, this is heavy metal influenced, and then it just went off the rails. There's some cool things in it that I could totally get while people were into it, but it just seems like it went on and on needlessly. It felt like it should have had an end. It should have had an end. It felt like a story that eventually was supposed to have an end, and they didn't do the natural ending. They just tried to keep it going. Comic Crack. New 52 era. I was on a board for a bunch of titles. I think I only have Wonder Woman and Batwoman left in the collection. I have the OMAC stuff, some of the Agent of Shade stuff. There was some cool things in there, right? But I still have the video up where I took that free preview issue they get where they listed all 52 titles, and I was stabbing the books that I predicted would be canceled with my Kirby knife, and a lot of them were canceled within 8 months. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is ridiculous. You could tell they didn't have a plan. That's what I'm trying to get at. They had just done Blackest Night. They had done Identity Crisis leading into leading into Infinite Crisis, leading to Final Crisis, and then we had Jeff Johns doing his stuff to where we led to Blackest Night, and they just fixed everything. Like they fixed the whole reason a lot of heroes had died and come back. They made it part of the story, and then all of a sudden they just abandoned it for a stunt of 52 and told people just do what you want. They had no plan. They just said we're doing it. And that's why they were able to do some weird stuff with a couple characters. We lost a great DC comic of Doom Patrol done by Keith Giffen. That was fantastic. We got 22, 23 issues of that, and it got abandoned because of the new 52. All right. Prime One Collector. I've never read Micronauts or ROM. Thinking about getting the omnibus. Prime One, whenever money becomes involved on the stuff and people are talking about it, I'm always like, go to a dollar bin, get it cheap, sample it, see what you like. You know what I mean? I started off reading the Micronauts sequentially, from the beginning. I'm gonna have to wrap it up here in a minute, man. I'm getting tired. And I need dinner. But anyway, I started reading it, and I was in it. I was like, okay, I get it. This, I feel like I'm in 1979. I can feel it. You know what I mean? This is kind of cool. Mike Golden, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. And then somewhere around issue 11 or 12, I just sort of have not gone back to revisit it. I've skipped ahead and looked at some Jackson Geis, Butch Geis artwork. Fantastic. That's the stuff that grabbed me, you know. So, but yeah, Rom, my brother loves Rom. He has a full set of Rom. I read 2 or 3 issues and I'm like, this is all right. It's cool. There's some, you know, I think it's just, I'm not a Bill Mantlo fan. I'm not a Bill Mantlo hater. You know what I mean? But Bill Mantlo, I just wish he had a little bit more texture. I don't know. I don't know. It's a preference. It's not his ability. It's my preference, you know. I mean, I'm the guy, you know, I'm going to show you a few books and you're going to see that, you know, started talking more. I loved Batman and Outsiders as a kid. Yep, I enjoyed, and that was John. Afro SX, I enjoyed Merc in the UK. American War comics were the superior to British War comics, like Battle and Commando, which were in black and white and bland. Sergeant Rock and Unknown Soldier was so much better. Sergeant Rock and Unknown Soldier, huge in my house as a kid. All right. Steve Woodward, what's up, brother? Good to see you. As a kid, I loved buying comics on the rack. That is Marcus Muse. Yeah, absolutely. Going into that spinner rack was like Christmas every Wednesday. You know what I mean? And then again, every now and then you'd go in there and like, all right, I'm ready for my next issue of Spider-Man, and it's gone or it didn't come in. You know what I mean? It was a gamble. Christmas and a gamble. Hey, see, Woolver felt the same way with Superboy, who had a 52 title, but wasn't near as good as the small run. Just Lemire started right before the 52. Got you. Yeah, absolutely. So another thing is when I was talking about the comics and refining them, I wanted to kind of show you something, right? So with the defunding more or less going on of PBS, which, sorry guys, I'm not going to get political, but PBS of the back in the day is not the PBS of the last decade. Okay. So they did it to themselves. Right. But anyway, back in the day, PBS had things like Cosmos. All right. 321 Contact, Electric Company, All About You, you know, some 70s stuff. You know, it still had a little bit of a liberal feel. And then you had local things like Cooking Cheap. Get on YouTube and look up Cooking Cheap out of Roanoke. 2 guys that are, you know, sitting there bickering while they cook cheap meals for you and stuff like that, right? Anyway, but anyway, you had Cosmos, and I loved Cosmos. And it turns out it was the first episode that I loved as a kid because you had Carl Sagan coming out there, and he would do the ship of the imagination and take you across the universe. And his suit, it was ASMR before you knew what SMR was. He was the Mr. Rogers of science. You know what I mean? It's what it felt like to me as a kid, right? So imagine my surprise when I pick up this, like I said, teen books, and I'm 10 years old and I pick up this World's Finest 295. Look how well loved it is. Superman 3's coming out. Batman, I love the cape when they do the, you know, really get into to the shape of the bat wings, if we will, things like that. And I felt like I'd missed an issue because when you open it up, Batman is already in a case and Superman is sad, right? Daughters of the Moon. So it turns out these Daughters of the Moon, or whatever they call themselves, I haven't read this in a while, right? But anyway, there's three women with powers: New Moon, Harvest Moon, Full Moon, something. They all have a moon name. They come in there and they're going around to nuclear sites, and they're terrorists, but they call them activists, if you will, right? And who is in it? Carl Sagan, somebody who I'd been watching for 3 years at this time and reruns on PBS, right? But he has a different name. He's a big scientist, Carl Hagen. His name is Carl Hagen here, right? So here they are. The Moon Dancers come in and they fight Batman. Now, as a little kid, I'm like, did I miss something? Oh, this is a flashback. They're doing cool stuff here, right? So one grows, and you know, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you know, new characters. The artist is really doing it. But anyway, they fight Batman. Batman gets hit with a gas in the fight. And now Batman is at death's doorstep because it's some kind of freaking disease. And they got Carl Sagan there talking to Superman, trying to tell him how bad it is and what he can do to try to save him. So Superman goes on a rampage against all these villains. He fights the Joker. He goes after Lex Luthor. He starts remembering having dinners with and sitting down for coffee with Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, how good of friends they are, doing everything he can. He's going to save him. There's a star by the, wish upon a star, Gotham needs them. And there's a comet. That's not a star. That is a comet. And Commissioner Gordon's like, we need you, Batman. Everybody needs Batman. And what we have here is Superman flying off into space after this comet. And back in the day before YouTube, when I was on message boards for comic books, this was my avatar. He reaches in and he pulls out the star of a comet in order to save Batman. Somehow the star of a comet, the heart of a comet, excuse me, is what's going to save Batman. All right. And that's what got me. They made good with the Moon Dancers. Batman survives. And they just let these bitches go. I'm like, what? Keep up the good work, girls. Yeah, with their activism. You almost killed us, but you brought us to your side. They even blow up a building. You know what I mean? And I'm just sort of like, what the hell? But yeah, they let them go. They let them know their story. Somebody dies. They're crying, and they're like, "See you later, girls. Keep up the good work." And they were never seen again. Meanwhile, another book that I would get a few years later, this is what I'm talking about. What a lot of people don't know, and I don't know how many times they did it, but Superman annuals, if you bought them once a year, would have a letter column for the year before. Now, if you know Alan Moore's great story for The Man Who Has Everything, by Alan Moore. That's what happened to The Man of Tomorrow. Anyway, I thought I was going to pull it out for you, but for The Man Who Has Everything, where we got the Superman, gets a present, and it turns out that when he opens it up, it's oh my god, what a black mercy is on his chest, a big flower, alien flower that as it kills you, it lets you see your fondest dreams. You know what I mean? It's a trade-off, right? And we, all this stuff. Well, a year later, with this great Brian Bolland cover, in 1986, number 12, a year later, you get to read feedback. And this is what I'm saying. Before the internet, you had to have the letter columns come out to hear what other people thought of the book you read. And this is Dave Gibbons writing into DC saying, y'all made the book look really good. Al and I were happy with it. And you have people writing these long, heartfelt letters about For the Man Who Has Everything. One of Alan Moore's one of Superman's classic stories ever. All right. And then you have things like this where I was like, why is this book not bigger? It's very Star Wars like. It's Atari Force. It's Jose Luis Garcia Lopez art. And I absolutely loved this book, right? Absolutely loved this book. Charlton 66 is here. No, that's Steve Woodward. Steve Woodward. I thought Charlton 66 was here. Charlton 66 took all of his Atari Force books and got them bound, right? I have this signed by Jose Garcia Lopez here somewhere. I've got multiple issues. The rest of them, 99% of the Atari Force, I bought off the rack, right? And if you went through here and just looked at the freaking art, I mean, you can see that it is of its era. You know what I mean? Very Storm-like, very action-packed, very Star Wars, bounty hunters, action, Blackjack. That's the dude's name is Blackjack. Everybody had cool names. The Atari Force Foundation, video games, just a lot of really cool stuff on here, man. I mean, you would read these and it's like you were in a mini movie and they packed it full. I mean, you could read this twice in a month. And then when you really take your time, see, to me, I know these have got to be dated. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's some upgrades in my originals. Pack Rat. If Howler Mouse was ever going to look like an alien, it would be Pack Rat here. Just fantastic stuff. These first 12 or 13 issues are all you need. There's only like 20 of them. And these tied into the Champion here. These tied into the little mini comics that came in your Atari 2600 cartridges. This was like 20 some years later or something. Of course, they had to have their main Darth Vader like villain. So much good stuff. And then a character that would tear your heart out because that's a baby alien and he was kidnapped off his planet. I mean, so basically you have a gigantic child, But yeah, these stories they were written by Jerry Conway, Mr. I created the Punisher. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These were just fun. Every month I looked forward to this, and I never really had a problem not getting it. And the Garcia Lopez art is it holds up. That's the only man that can replace George Perez on any book, and you don't miss Perez. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I'm sitting here getting all excited about Atari Force. Everybody else was talking about, like, did you read the X-Men? You know what I mean? The arcade popped back up. They had a robot. They had a robot Doctor Doom. You know, I'm just sitting here like, yeah, well, I had a bunch of aliens grab Blackjack and tried to fix him, and they gave him a electronic eye that sticks out, freaking him out. You know what I mean? I'm just like, Pack Rat went feral on somebody's ass. You know what I mean? Things like that. Just good stuff, right? So that's what I'm saying. Was it better? I mean, you really were more honest with yourself about what you liked instead of trying to look cool, or showing you have clout by grabbing books that are supposed to be the hot book of the moment or FOMO or whatever. And that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to kind of figure out my words here, because you still had those things where you would see a preview issue of, like, I got to get that book, and there'd be some competition for it. That's part of the collecting, but it wasn't all of it. That's what I'm trying to get. To me, a great collection has variety in it, and this allowed you to get variety. The other thing that I want to get at is, even though I was a kid and I had a $5 allowance, the price was still kind of cool. You know what I mean? You could take a chance, and it didn't feel like you were killing your resources. You know what I'm saying? But then again, the Howler Hustle came into effect around 91, when comic books within a year went to $1.25, $1.50, $1.75, and $1.95. And when they went to $1.95, I completely changed how I collected comics. I'm like, I'm not doing it. That's ridiculous. Right? So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I think it's ironic that we have comic books on better quality paper, supposedly, with better coloring. Yet it seems like some of the more substantial classics and better written books and text, like your Alan Moore books, your Swamp Thing, your Frank Miller stuff, were on inferior paper. So I mean, it's a trade-off. It's sort of like we traded off better quality physical books for for substance in our stories. So here we go, man. Hey, here we go. Charlton66 is here. I thought I saw you pop up. Atari Force was where it was at. It was the bee's knees. Guys, that is a review right there, from a seasoned, well-read collector, guys. You know what I mean? So you can take that to the bank right there. Afro SF. There was a lot of great 80s pre-crisis comics. I love Jim's Son of Saturn and the Red Tornado miniseries. I've been experimenting with Nathaniel Dusk, now that I found out that was nothing but Gene Colan's pencils with color on them. So I'm definitely checking that out for the art. I've had number 1 here forever. There's a book, Silver Blade. I'm kind of wanting to get the rest of. I have issue number 1. Now I want the rest of them. So yeah, there was some great stuff out there, but but like with anything, like I said, there were some stinkers. Okay. You know what I mean? Not everything was a classic. Not everything was a hit. But what's good about those is if you got 2 or 3 of those stinker of books, if you will, and read those, and then read something like Watchmen or Frank Miller's Daredevil, you see where they were at and where they ended up. You're like, no wonder this was revolutionary, because a lot of those great hits back then that we were living through, every now and then you would get a book that you knew was going to be a classic. Well, nobody knew Watchmen was going to be a classic. Dark Knight Returns, I think as soon as everybody saw those first 2-3 pages, they were like, this is something. But what I'm trying to get, not everything was a big hit. There's a lot of stuff out there that were just still eye rolling, but now the quality, it seems like the quality of mainstream books, even those stinkers, look better than some of the choices they're making nowadays. You know what I mean? But that's a whole other thing. So anyway, guys, I'm going to have to get off here. I had a blast with you guys here on Saturday night. Thanks for what's in here. If you made it this far, thank you. Make sure you are subscribed, thumb it up. Check out some of the new videos. I'm doing something where I just fly through the book. I'm keeping it simple, letting the book try to sell itself a little bit. Check those out. Give me some feedback if you like that type of video. And like I said, make sure you're subscribed, share this video, thumb it up, let people know we're here. We're all in this together, guys. Be excellent to each other, read your comic books, and until we meet again.